Imagine pulling a formal envelope from your mailbox, tearing it open, and finding an eviction warning for a lease violation you know nothing about. The letter accuses you of illegally subletting a room for profit, but you haven't moved anyone in. The person who reported you, your flatmate, has actually had her own boyfriend living in the apartment, completely rent-free, for 4 months. This diagram shows a maneuver known as tactical projection, or the smokescreen. When a person is violating the rules, they can project an expanding cloud of suspicion outward to hide their own actions, attempting to shine the spotlight on someone else. The goal is simple redirection. By creating a secondary crisis, the attention shifts entirely onto the innocent party. You end up on the defensive, and the landlord's energy is consumed by a phantom problem. Breaking this tactic requires refusing to play the game on their terms. You have to ignore the noise and systematically dismantle the narrative with objective data. Before the warning letter arrived, the flat was a standard 2-bedroom shared space. Then, a ghost tenant slowly began to occupy the common areas. The flatmate's boyfriend was present almost every day, using the kitchen and utilities while contributing nothing to the household costs. You decide to raise the issue directly, asking your flatmate to address the fact that an unauthorized person is effectively living in the flat. She responds with immediate defensiveness. It's the moment she realizes her unauthorized arrangement has been formally noticed. Exactly 7 days later, the landlord issues the formal warning for subletting. The claim appears only after the flatmate's own breach of the lease was questioned. In this situation, the attempt to hide a visible breach of contract, an extra person in the house, is done by inventing an invisible one. It attempts to balance the scales by forcing you to prove a negative. Instead of arguing with the flatmate, the next step is requesting a formal face-to-face meeting with the landlord to address the accusation. The response to the landlord is built around 3 specific sets of records. First, financial. A scrolling ledger tracks exact rent payments with 0 inbound deposits. Second, contractual. This tenancy agreement section confirms your occupancy remained strictly within the rules. While those documents clear you of the subletting charge, the final set of records shifts the focus back to the original problem. This calendar illustrates 6 weeks of data, a log of the precise dates, times, and overnight stays accumulated by the unauthorized boyfriend. As the landlord processes these logs, the dynamic in the room changes. The conversation is no longer about a rumor, it's about a documented violation. Hard data changes the nature of the confrontation. It moves the discussion from a conflict of stories to a comparison of facts, forcing the burden of proof back to the source of the complaint. The consequences followed quickly. The flatmate received a formal 30-day warning, and her boyfriend moved out within the week. The flat became quiet. For 2 months, you and your flatmate lived in silence, until she chose not to renew her portion of the tenancy. Deceit relies on a lack of clarity. It needs the he said, she said nature of a shared living situation to remain unproven. Protection against this kind of manipulation comes from proactive documentation. You keep the logs and save the records, even without an active conflict. Keep the records. When reality is called into question, the receipts tell the story. Have you ever had someone try to point the finger at you to hide their own behavior? Let me know in the comments and subscribe for more.